5-Year Mission, the podcast, episode 31.
This episode of 5-Year Mission, the podcast, is brought to you by Fansets, your home for all things pop culture pin related. Head over to fansets.com and see all that they have to offer. And also stay tuned at the end of the episode for a very special offer from us here at 5-Year Mission.
By now you figured out that this is the 5-Year Mission podcast.
Welcome to another episode of 5-Year Mission, the podcast. My name is Chris.
I'm Noah.
Mike.
It's Chris, Noah, and Mike, your favorites, back together again for another episode of 5-Year Mission, the podcast.
What are little songs made of?
What are little songs made of?
This time, the little song is Return of the Archons.
Return of the Archons.
So, who wants to give a plot synopsis of this? Mike? Nah.
Let me bring it up.
Well, if it's too much trouble for you, Mike.
No, it's
honestly. So the USS Enterprise, under the command of Captain Kirk, arrives at planet Beta 3 in the C-111 system, where the USS Archon was reported lost nearly 100 years earlier, right? And Lieutenant Sulu is the only member of the landing party who beams up from the planet's surface and exhibits inexplicable euphoria. I said inexplicable. I don't know what that means. I'm reading Wikipedia way too fast.
I can tell.
Yeah. You take it from there, Mike.
Seeking the answer to a century-old mystery, Kirk and crew encounter a vacantly peaceful society under a 6,000-year autocratic rule that kills all those it can absorb.
Now look up autocratic, Mike. All right. Kirk beams down another party to investigate, and they find that the inhabitants living in a 19th century Earth-style culture ruled over by cloaked and cowled lawgivers and a reclusive dictator named Landru.
We just put a link to Wikipedia.
Sure,
on this episode.
But no, I really just wanted to get to this line because this is the line that it says in Wikipedia that cracked me up. It says their arrival is shortly followed by the festival, a period of violence, destruction, and sexual aggressiveness.
Well, it is.
Not that sexual aggressiveness is funny, but it's just they didn't say everybody got rapey. They didn't say that.
Oh, well, okay.
Wikipedia tries
probably for the best.
Yeah, they're a little more high class than that. My memory of this as a kid, actually, there's scenes of this that really stick with me from watching it. As a kid, like there's images burned into my memory.
It's a pretty creepy episode.
It is. I mean, the robes and the like weird metal tubes that they have, like that's creepy, yeah. and that really sticks out in my brain. But then for some reason the like the jail scene, the scene where they're all like stuck in the jail is just like in my brain. Yeah. And it's pretty boring, really. It's not like, and maybe that's why it stuck in my head as a kid. I was like, oh my God, get on with the show. Why are they just hanging out in a prison? Or maybe it was interesting as a kid. I don't remember, but that scene does really stick out in my head for some reason, that when they're stuck in that jail. I don't know if it's like an abnormally long scene.
It's a good 10 minutes or so of the episode, but between when they first get put in there and when they take everybody to absorb them.
It's definitely the part that I remember the most of the episode.
Really interesting. Yeah,
I don't know why. I think of Archons. I think of these. They're like in this dungeon, right? Kind of.
Yeah. That is like my memory. Now that I watched it to write a song, watched it many times and have written a song about it. It's more the chaos things of the festival are what like stick in my brain now, because it's kind of hilarious. And isn't there like, isn't it like Mayberry? Isn't there some like scenes from the set of the Andy Griffith Show in that one too?
Yeah, it's right? the same set from Mary and City on the Edge of Forever.
And so it's just like this sort of
lot somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the chaos of the festival and the sort of ridiculousness of like watching these actors and actresses like trying to be crazy and violent and sexually aggressive, as Wikipedia puts it. It's kind of hilarious and funny, and that's what sticks in my brain now.
Well, I feel like the festival also is not, I mean, they only had so many extras that they could put on, that they had on the set, and the sets were not super well fleshed out. I mean, they had this city kind of, but it still felt small. And so when they had these people going crazy, it wasn't like this mass hysteria. It was like 4 or 5 people, running around.
A couple of townspeople are breaking some windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that stuck with me as an adult, really watching this episode and being into Star Trek as an adult, and actually translating that into writing a song about it, is that this episode had so much great just like language and terminology in it. It's like they just built so much terminology into the episode, which is what I always find fun and interesting about science fiction and fantasy, when like they've create their own sort of terms and terminology and language and stuff. So like are you of the body and lawgivers and being absorbed, and just all these like all this verbiage that it was created for this episode, I just think was great. And that's just like what was really kind of fun watching it as an adult, to appreciate some of that.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah, definitely unique. And I tried to take a lot of that verbiage and terminology and put it into the song, because it was interesting and unique, as you said there.
Oh, it's just a side note. It's the 40 acres backlot in Culver City. And it is the same backlot that they use for both Miri and City on the Edge of Forever.
And isn't it the same that was Mayberry for the Andy Griffith Show, or not?
Yep. Yes, it is Mayberry. It was also constructed for Gone with the Wind.
Really?
Yeah. To be at the 19th century Atlanta.
That is that's some trivia there for you.
Yep.
Well, and this is also another Kirk versus the computer episode.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Technically, the first one.
That's what I was going to ask, because I knew you would know, Mike. Like, is this the first Kirk versus a computer episode?
It's the first episode where Kirk talks a computer to death.
Not the last.
Not the
right?
last. First of several.
Don't they like blow a hole in the wall and there it is, right?
Yeah. They phaser a hole in the wall, and the computer from A Taste of Armageddon is in there, and and their phasers have been deactivated after they make the hole in the wall, so they can't shoot it. So Kirk has to talk it to death.
What does he say?
What was it he said? He convinces it that it's breaking its own law by keeping its people from growing and being creative.
Depriving them of creativity.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he convinces it to self-destruct.
Yes.
It's very, I mean, they just did that a few episodes before that in the Apple, really, didn't they?
Well, the Apple is later.
Is later.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Apple is second season.
That's right.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because Mike actually had the idea and the lyrics, mostly the lyrics, the lyrical idea for the bridge of the old computer and let's say Reckoner of Lives, programming gone wrong, the creator, that sort of thing. He had that idea, and I remember him telling me about that and saying, like, every episode that has, the computer gone wrong that's messed up a civilization, like we need to have the same exact bridge in every song, And I was like, yes, that's great, awesome, right? I'll start that on Archons. Here we go, And so I basically took his lyrics and his lyrical idea and made it fit to that thing. And thought, yeah, well, we're going to do that on everything. And I don't know if the Apple was officially the next one that did it.
The Apple, I think that's the next episode that falls into that exact description.
Yeah. So I could have, in the Apple, I could have made that happen again, but it just didn't. It didn't feel right with the rest of the song.
Didn't fit the song.
It didn't fit the song, so we didn't.
The next one was that Spock on Spock's brain. The next one we did.
Yes.
My Directive is Prime.
My Directive is Prime.
Yeah. I used that in My Directive is Prime. That was the next time we used it, and then you used it
The World
in
is Hollow.
World is Hollow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what episodes that we've sort of like, besides the Apple, were there episodes that we could have used it on that we didn't?
I'm sure there's probably one or two that we could have.
Yeah. I know we had talked about it with
Ultimate Computer,
but we think we eventually decided that didn't actually apply.
Actually, that bridge in Ultimate Computer was going to be the old computer part, but then once I watched the episode, it didn't really fit that description. I mean, Kirk does have to outsmart a computer and convince the computer to like destroy itself. So it does kind of fit that, but it didn't really go along with like the theme of the old computer controlling people's lives type
for hundreds
of
of years or whatever.
Yeah. Like
Spock's brain, he didn't outsmart the computer, but it totally fit with the computer trying to, controlling people. But it was a different, kind of a different way because it didn't control them maliciously. That's just how they survived.
Right. But it was keeping them from growing and becoming a society of their own.
Yeah.
Which is what it was doing in Archons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm looking through the lyrics now and going back to just like I said, the terminology that they created for this episode. And there was just so much stuff, the festival, the body, blessed be the body, the will of Landru, joy be with you, peace and tranquility today. And the red hour, like just calling it the red hour, this chaos.
Did you ever find out where, because I read somewhere that Archons came from like some club that Roddenberry was in or something like that. I wonder if Landru and some of these other terms that he used were similar, if they had some kind of origin.
Apparently Archon is what, like it says, each of the 9 chief magistrates in ancient Athens. So it was some kind of judicial officer in like Greek. It's like a Greek word.
I wonder if that was where the club name came from.
Yeah.
For that as well.
Let's see. Actually, in Archons is actually also in the Bible as well, apparently.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
So it's an old ass word. It says Archons are in Gnosticism and religions closely related to it, demonic entities subordinate to the embodiment of evil in the corresponding belief system. But in ancient Greek, it's a word that means ruler in ancient Greek. So that it kind of fits under all those categories.
How'd the song come about? Like, was this another one that you had a lot of versions of, or did it just happen?
No. Interestingly enough, like when I'm in the writing process, I usually use my phone to record ideas, right? And then if the ideas I feel are pretty good, I star it or I email it to myself, or I keep it in some way because there's just way too many little idea record, voice memo idea recordings that I have to sort them out somehow. But I've gone back through like the folder of the keeper things that I have, right? And I started listening to them like years later, thinking there'll be some old idea I can mine to turn into a new song. And I'll be listening to it and I'll be like, oh, that's an early version of Archons. That's what that is. Oh, okay. All right. Let me hear this next one. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's an early version of Archons. Next one. That's another version of Archons. Oh, that's the bridge of Archons. Oh, that, you know. So like, no, I really only had this one version of it. It came in pieces. According to my voice memos, it came in several pieces. Now, the music was always there. I was actually listening a lot. I don't know that it came out in the final version of it, but I was listening a lot at the time to a band called the Thermals, who I think are out of Chicago. And they have a lot of kind of weird Armageddon, end of times, biblical theme sort of things to their music. And it's just kind of some straight up power pop stuff. And so I was listening to a lot of that, and that kind of influenced the song writing of that. In fact, I had kind of a lead that I told Patrick, I'm like, listen to this song, do a lead kind of like this. And I don't know if it actually turned out that way. It actually, I think, turned out to be a little bit more like the Friday I'm in Love Cure beginning. But you know, that's how the songs evolve. You kind of are shooting for this, and it morphs into something else, and that's I like that. I think that's good. Actually, Elvis Costello said in his one of his books, like, that he thought his best work came from when the whole band was trying to imitate some other band, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't do it, and what they came out was just what came out of them, trying to emulate this other band. But he said that was like what he felt was some of his best work came out of that. And that I think sometimes that's true.
I do that all the time. Like I'll hear something and I'll start, I'll pretty much take a chord progression or something and start playing around with it. And I'm always worried, man, this is going to sound too much like what I'm taking it from. And it never ever ends up like that. It's always, the only time I ever write anything that sounds exactly like something else is when it's completely by accident. When I'm trying to sound like something else, it never works. And it just becomes something different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I always had the music. There's not one that had many different versions of it. There was definitely the influence by the Thermals. And then the very last sort of coda that comes on, well, it's also not even the coda. It's like the
what
pre
that part?
No, not that part.
No, the festival is
festival. Yeah. Festival time. Yeah, that and that's kind of the same chords that happen in the pre-choruses, as well. It's almost a similar progression, but that is a very much for those of you who ever want to look it up. It is the Super Chunks, Detroit has the Skyline too, like that. It's the intro of that song is kind of what I took from that. That was my Super Chunk homage there on that.
Damn it, Noah.
Sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. But it's a really fun song to play live. Like I really like to play this one live. I like the dynamics of it.
I enjoy this one too.
And this is a song, of course, that my wife sings on. She does the backing vocals on the old computers and does the is it ooze or ahs at the very beginning?
I think it's ooze.
It's O's.
O's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I sing the low harmony or the low on that, and she sings the high.
The high, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, at what point in writing this song did you think none of these guys are ever going to be able to sing this high note?
Yeah. In the writing of the song, that wasn't a consideration. Like having her do some of those, even those beginning oohs or ahs or whatever they are, that came all in the recording process pretty late, like just wanting to like add some extra.
Yeah, because we recorded this at your house.
Yeah, all of year 2 was recorded at our house. Yeah,
that makes sense. So we recorded a bunch of stuff, and you're like, "This sounds terrible." Holly, we fix this.
No, I more just wanted to, I wanted to give it a little something.
No, I think it was a good choice.
Extra. But
she's played it live with us before too.
She has a couple times, and even Helen has come up and done those backing vocals for us a couple times.
Yep.
That's nice to have that happen live, but it's it's not. I don't feel like if we don't, and we played that song a bunch of times, and 90% of the time we don't have anybody to sing those the high parts on it. I don't think anything's really missing from it all that much, but it is fun. It is fun when it can happen, when you can make it as close to the album version as possible. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Whenever Holly's not there, I have to muddle through and do the best I can with so actually usually I do a lower one.
Do you still just do the lower one, or do you try to do the high sometimes?
It's like a mid-range.
Just try to fill in the gap.
Yeah. I think Patrick does vocal on it too sometimes. I'm not sure what he does.
Well, and this is one. This song is just a lot of fun to play live because there's so many dynamics. There's lots of getting down quiet and then really just opening it up to be kind of loud and raucous and fun. And is this the first song or that somebody says the word baby in, like as a term of endearment, or did we have it any other place, or is this the first time?
I can't recall any other ones before this.
Is it the only time?
When does it say baby?
No, because you do it in Hey Kara a lot.
I do it in Hey Kara. Do I actually say baby in Hey Kara?
It's.
I don't think I say baby. I don't think I say baby in Hey Kara.
Maybe not.
But
it feels like I should. It feels like it would fit right in.
Could be one in there.
But I don't think there actually is.
When do you say baby in this one?
During the breakdown, when I say I'm up for the red hour.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I just say it once.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is also possibly the longest Noah song as far as how many verses and sections that it has, because Noah is notorious for writing a song that only has like 3 verses and 2 choruses, and then he'll remove one of the verses during the recording process because it's too long.
He's like, I can't remember all these lyrics. What am I doing?
This song has like 4 verses, 3 choruses, a breakdown, an outro. Like it's got like all kinds of parts.
Coda, yeah.
Hey, it's no Friday's Child though. Hey guys, let's make the longest song I can possibly think of.
No, I think Mike has the record for that, doesn't he? Is Shore Leaf technically the longest song that we have?
Well, if you count the demos.
Well, I know the demo is the long.
If you count the intro to
Who mourns for Adonius?
that's the one, Adonius. If you count the intro to Adonius, I think Patrick's got
if you count both of those, that's like 8 minutes long.
If you include the whole track that comes before it as part of the same song.
Yeah, I mean, it technically is. It's the intro, but we made it into a separate song because we're like, man, maybe everybody won't want to listen to this every time they listen to this song. Just jump ahead.
That is a conversation that we'll have when that episode comes up, but I can't wait to actually talk about that whole. What is it? Tracks? What track is it? It has a number. It's only labeled as a number, right?
Yeah, I think it's just 16.
Yeah, it's 16 and 17.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think 16 is just labeled as a number. It doesn't actually have a name.
Actually, I think we had to put a dot.
Yeah.
As the title of it because it wouldn't accept nothing.
Nothing, right? Mm-hmm. I do remember making the video for this song back when we were actually, when we actually made videos for our songs.
Uh-huh.
And and this it was
the scene of the girl tearing the thing off.
yeah. There was just so much great material to use to make the video. A lot of some songs, like it's just like it's tough. It's tough to find footage to repeat or to fit in there to actually like make it interesting to watch. And
a lot of shots of the Enterprise and people beaming.
Yeah,
I think the hardest videos to make are the ones that are just about like a little piece of the song or a little piece of the episode.
Like Naked Time.
Oh man, Naked Time was rough. How am I gonna make a video out of this?
Or no, sometimes it could be super simple though. Like I feel like Dagger of the Mind.
Yeah.
It could if you really, I mean that has a bunch of great stuff in it. But really, if all you had done was show just the like circle of light, like spinning and flashing. I made
use of that. Don't worry. Yeah.
No, I would say if you use that for the whole like 3.5 minutes, it would have been fine. It would be perfect. It would have been fine for that particular episode.
I think you're right.
Sometimes that works.
I considered doing that, but I was like, no, I want to do some other, because there was too many great. Was it Van Gelder? Is that the?
Oh yeah. His great looks on his face.
Too many great looks on that guy's face.
And that's how it was with Archons. There was just too many scenes of just of the festival of just people, actors trying to act like they were crazy, and euphoric. I forget what the other words they used were, but yeah, that was fun. That was.
Oh, you know what? This episode has the first mention of the Prime Directive too.
Yep,
I forgot about that.
Which is why it's cool that Mike, when he brought that back up in My Directive is Prime, it hits that home.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause the bridge. Yeah. I didn't have that for Hollow.
Well, cause that song is, it's not really it's not specifically about Spock's
brain, right?
It's about all of the episodes where Kirk shows up and destroys your god.
Yeah. Right. he decides what's best for you.
Well, and this episode is like, they created the Prime Directive in this episode specifically so that he could break it, so that he could go against it.
Is it the first mention of the Prime Directive?
Yeah, they've never mentioned it before this episode, and they mention it in the episode only so that Kirk can be like, well, does it really count here? Because I think these people are oppressed. Like.
Yeah.
that actually, to me, that just talking about that now, like that ups the episode a little bit for me. Like not only does it have all this cool terminology and language in it, but it's also the first mention of the Prime Directive. That's pretty cool. Actually, that gives it some more cool points.
It's got another little bit of trivia. Bobby Clark's in it.
The singer?
AKA the Gorn.
Oh, the Gorn.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of as a singer? I don't know.
Bobby Brown.
Bobby Darin.
All of those, yes.
Yeah, he's one of the townspeople, the guy that like leaps through the window yelling festival.
Oh, really?
It's Bobby Clark.
That's awesome. I didn't know he had more than one role on Star Trek.
Apparently. That's what Star Trek does, right? They bring back people who've been on before.
When we met him in Vegas, all he talked about was the Gorn. He didn't say, hey, I was the guy who jumped through the window and said festival. I would have been bragging. If I were him, I would have been bragging about that too.
It's not quite as iconic, I guess.
Well, not if you never mention it. It's not going to be iconic.
I guess we didn't have that scene on our screen for him to come over and claim that it's him.
That's true.
It was the Gorn that was on the screen.
So next time we're in Vegas, where he's going to be there, let's edit a whole new version of the song that's just him jumping through the window.
The song's a lot of fun to play, and I really enjoyed coming up with the bass line for it. And I remember one time at practice, like we had played it like a few times for like a few weeks, and I was mostly playing like low notes on the bass. And then this one time I decided to on the like the intro and the chorus to slide up and do like an octave higher. And I remember like Noah's face just like lit up. and you looked at me and you were like, it was like there was something wrong with the song up until that point, and I had fixed it. It just, and it did, like, it sounds totally different with, just the bass doing that different part. It really like drives that part of the song. And it just, I actually use the same technique in Bread and Circuses.
Yeah. And I think that's when I like maybe asked you, like, what are you doing, or what did you do? And you're like, well, I'm just playing the 5 and the 7. Got some numbers that, of course, I have no idea. I have no understanding of what you're talking about. and so that's kind of became the joke with me whenever Mike plays bass, and I'm like, oh man, you doing some 7s and some 13s there, and so I just like try to throw out some random odd numbers and be like, Mike, you doing a 15 there? Because that sounds pretty cool. Is that your?
Well, I'd say more than half of the song is not root notes. A lot of the bass in this song is all like harmony notes.
Right, which is what the 5s, the 7s,
the 5s and 7s and the 13s,
the 9s and the 13s, and
there might be some 11s in there.
I think this is one where on keys I tried to make it a little more interesting, but the thing with keys, I try not to make it too complicated, because then I can't sing at the same time. And so on the chorus, especially, the chorus is real simple. It's just, the root notes. But on the verse, I almost did kind of a chording effect where I just keep one note, like the root note down, and then kind of walk up with the other notes while keeping that note down, just to kind of give it a little bit of more of a chorusy effect. And it has that, kind of almost a Wurlitzer organ kind of feel to it.
And for me, that's like on a lot of my songs, I very much depend on Chris for great backing vocals. Like, I mean, Chris, I think by now, like, I think you know me and you know what I like and what what I want to hear. And you're also,
I know what you like.
You know what I like. And you're also good at taking direction too. If I say, try this, and you're willing to try it, and usually hit exactly what I'm thinking that I want to have in that. So much like Michael Stipe, your voice is another instrument for me. And a lot of times on those songs, like, your voice is, to me, is more important than the keys, than actually whatever you're playing on the keys. So I know that from playing keys too. Sometimes, like, if you have to sing and play keys at the same time, you have to like simplify what you're doing, because it's one thing has to be dominant.
Well, keys for me, and I think this probably applies for the most part for all of us, is keys is it's a texture for the song. It's not necessarily a standout piece. I mean, we do have some songs where the keys are featured more, but on this one especially, it's just, it's really just a texture, kind of this, you would notice if it was gone, but it just it's just there, kind of the carpet of the song, at the bottom there, just kind of.
It's called the actual musical term is called padding. It's a real term.
Yeah, it gives it a little padding. But that's intentional, because it does free me up to be able to do more vocally, which in this case, especially in the verse, there are these, the chorus, there's these high vocals that I have to, which they're not super complicated, but what I'm doing on the keys is just hitting these root notes, which, given that it's this organ sound, it's you don't lose a whole lot there.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Bread and Circus as well, the similar thing that you're doing. It's a similar kind of backing vocal that has to be fairly powerful, but it's also kind of high. It's probably a similar experience on keys, where you have to kind of keep the keys simple and focus more on the vocals. My problem is since I'm not a big backup vocal guy, I can do some shouting, but I'm not real good at doing harmonies and that sort of thing. When I go to be on keys, I'm like, I'm going to write this great, like, lead key line, you know, and so I'm like doing this fancy stuff on the keys, and I'm like, this is going to be like a cool lead. And then whenever we, you know, mix it down, it's like, well, it was cool, but you can't really hear it in the final mix. But
I think my favorite part, and I'm sure that we have mentioned this before, but my favorite part about Noah playing keys is Noah comes with a part, and then he puts his phone up there on the keys and records it. Like he takes video of his hands, so he can see what he's doing, and he can remember.
That's smart.
It is smart. I mean, I'm up over here. I have all my note cards, writing down the notes, and the sounds for the keys, because I can't kind of muscle memory. I remember a lot of that stuff when we go to play it, but I got to have those notes, or else I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
We'll see, and that's
just too many of them. And
I know I've talked about this before, but it's always interesting to see how we work with that type of thing. I mean, I can't remember lyrics to save my life. Lyrics that I wrote for my own songs, like I can't remember them. It is like really like almost a disability. Like I can't do it. I cannot remember my lyrics. Like I have to see them in front of me all the time. Mm-hmm. But on keys, I'll record my hand to like, so that I don't forget the part when I write it. But like after that, I remember every setting. I remember everything there is to do on the keys, but lyrics, I have to have them in front of me. And like Chris, you usually on keys, you have to have like note cards to kind of get you somewhere into what you're doing, but you never, you rarely have to have lyrics in front of you, to do that. It's just funny how that works.
So what I'm taking from this conversation is that Noah wants to play keys more often.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what it sounds like.
Well, I tell you what, I would if they would get featured more in the recording.
Mike,
if they would be up in the mix and play them more often.
It's not up to me, man. I mean,
hey, notice the only song that has keys featured is a Mike song, Operation Annihilate. Only song.
That's
no.
Actually, keys start year 4.
Yeah, keys are pretty loud in The Naked Time. They're also pretty loud in Private Little War. They're you can hear them really well in Metamorphosis.
Not featured though. Not like Operation Annihilate. Not like they should be.
I would argue that the keys are featured.
Whatever Noah's talking about.
In a Private Little War. The keys are definitely featured in Private Little War.
I feel like they're featured.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I do. I guess I do a lot of crazy stuff with the keys that doesn't necessarily need to be featured.
Well, by the time we're done mixing everything, and like a lot of the stuff just ends up being padding, like you said.
I remember. Yeah, I can't remember what song it was, but I did this key sound, and you guys were listening back to the recording. I mean, with everything together, and you thought something was distorted, and it was just the keys, and it was the way it's supposed to be. You're like, what's distorting? And it was my sound.
I think you're probably talking about a piece of the action.
Could be.
So you use this setting that sounds like a frog having a seizure. And every time that we play it, if the key amp is behind me, like and angled at me, it's so distracting that I mess up the words.
It's the one where I'm going that,
yeah. It's like meow.
I think it's great.
So Noah, why do you never hear my voice as an instrument on your songs?
Well, Mike, that's because
the answer's in the question.
Your particular genius lies in your guitar playing and your bass playing, and occasionally your key parts, and your songwriting and your lyrics. Look at all the compliments I'm giving you, man. I'm giving you a lot of compliments.
It's pretty complimentary.
Look at him drinking his Coke.
It's a Mexican Coke, no less.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Return to the Archons.
So the drums in this song, they keep time.
That's right. Let's talk about Andy and this thing. Actually, I really like what Andy does on the drums for this.
Well, I remember there was a lot of discussion at the first few practices about what to do with it, because I think he was trying to play a lot busier parts throughout it, and you and him kind of went back and forth about what it should be, and you ended up kind of breaking it down to more of like a simple underbeat on the verse.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of explodes into the chorus.
Yeah. And I have no memory of that process or that conversation or
so I could just make anything up right now.
You could. And I'd be like, yeah, that's what happened.
You remember when you brought this song to me and it was just a hot pile of garbage. and
you rewrote the whole thing.
I fixed it.
And it is what it is now. Yeah, you fixed it. Yeah. No, like, but it has that chorus that could like lend itself to that sort of, I don't know how to describe the drum beat, but like that, that sort of, it could have that like really like cheesy.
It was like, I mean, it was like I was listening to the recording.
I know.
Amazing.
That's terrible. Sorry. It could have had a cheesier sort of thing because of the rhythm of it, but the way Andy handles it, it gives it power, but keeps
it's good timing.
It's good timing. I like what he does with it.
Well, I like that the contrast between the verses and the choruses is very similar to the contrast in the episode between like the red hour and the rest of the time. Like when festivals happening, it's all crazy, like the chorus.
Yeah, it is very mellow throughout, except for the choruses.
Was that on purpose?
It's almost like that was intentional.
Was it?
Well, now that you mention it.
I'm trying to make you look good here now.
I know we mentioned it already, but the tag at the end where it's just festival, I've always thought that was a brilliant addition, just because, a lot of songs, they kind of fade out or they go out on repeated chorus or something. And I've always enjoyed putting that tag on there that just adds that little extra something to the end that's different than anything else. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I really like that part.
Thanks. Yeah. I don't remember when or how I came up with that ending, but it seemed like what needed to be there. I needed to mention festival in some way, like it needed to be a part of the song, and part of that coda, part of that like in tag has pieces of that pre-chorus in it too. So that's kind of like drawing out the pieces of the pre-chorus, but also kind of lending it's sort of these weird chords that are a bit chaotic. And I think that helps lend itself to the theme of the chaos of festival. And I feel like Mike would be proud with all of like the sort of random chords that are used in there, because it's a bunch of chords that don't necessarily go together. I mean, it works, but it's like a.
So you were trying to imitate The Enemy Within without dragging it out like The Enemy Within.
That's exactly. Yeah. Enemy Within was like it was a big influence on my writing of this song.
Mine too.
I heard, Chris, I watched your video of your new interpretation of Enemy Within.
Oh, did you?
I did. I watched it.
I don't remember what I did. I'll have to watch it again.
Good luck.
That was my mic cover month.
Yeah, speaking of which, it is almost like it's getting that time where the patrons get their special personalized video.
I think
which is often us doing versions of different songs, whether we wrote them or someone else wrote them.
I think this month some special patron, some lucky patron may get the original version of Court Martial.
I'll send out my 27 original voice memos of each individual portion of the Archons.
Yeah.
that don't have the lyrics.
Send them out one at a time. There's your next 20 seconds.
Yeah, spread it out.
All right, here's 13 seconds of an idea I had on Return of the Archons 11 years ago.
It's perfect.
Perfect. There you go. That's what you get when you become a patron of our Patreon.
That's right. You get all these special things.
So, if you're not there yet at the is it the commander level? What's the level?
Admirals are the ones who get the personal videos.
Admiral level.
Sometimes the personal videos are admirals, and we have weekly videos that
Captains
and admirals. Although sometimes when they're really short, we send them out to everybody, all the patrons.
Bottom line is, if you are not a patron of our Patreon, you should be.
You should be.
You should be. There's lots of goofy, fun stuff. Like I said, there's Chris's house. There's just hard drives full of.
That's right.
Full of the past 11 years of our life, and at Hero House apparently there's hard drives of the past 11 years of our life, and it's all going to eventually leak its way out on Patreon. So if you want some of that goodness, get on there.
If you're an admiral, you get personalized videos, and they're not just old archival footage. It's us talking
right now,
trying to figure out what the heck we're going to say every month.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good fun. But you get stuff like old song ideas that never happened, or new song ideas, or, we do covers of each other's songs.
Yeah, or poorly executed covers of each other's songs.
Hey, Enemy Within was pretty classic. What was the other one I did?
Wait, what was the other one you did?
Oh, it was Wolf in the Fold.
Yes.
And I was like, why is Wolf in the Fold so long? Why does this keep going?
I considered, if I had more, I considered writing the rest of it as if it was actually a full song.
Now, that would have been something, Chris. That would have been something.
I would have been impressed with that.
Well, stay tuned. And if you're an admiral at our Patreon, maybe you'll be the one that gets to hear it.
I like when Chris got to the end of it and he still couldn't say the words. Hey, do you miss getting new content from 5 Year Mission? You should head over to patreon.com/5yearmission and check out our Patreon page. As a patron of the band, you will receive access to rare and behind-the-scenes pictures and videos and other cool stuff. You will also have early access to many things, like video releases or new songs. You can sign up for different levels, from ensign all the way up to admiral. One of the perks of being an admiral on 5 Year Mission's Patreon is that you get to be a producer on this podcast. Currently, our producers are Neil Carpenter, Helen Lake, Debbie Rinke, Carol Jones, Becky and Roxy, Steve and Frankie Palopoli, Madison Rachel Jones, and Jim Morehouse. Your name could be on this list if you sign up as an admiral. So head over to patreon.com/5yearmission now. That's the number 5 Year Mission.
Did you know that Fansets is your home for all things pop culture pin related? I'll bet you did, because here pretty soon they're going to have new releases from DC Comics' Legion of Superheroes, as well as new releases from Xenoscope. Here's some new releases from Star Trek. Of course, they're continuing the Women of Trek series with Dr. Beverly Crusher, and also a slew of new pins from Picard, including Picard, Raffi, Elnor, with the little word bubble coming out that says "Choose to Live," which I love, and also episode pins from episodes 6 and 7, The Impossible Box and Nepenthe. And hey, do you seek Jamaharan? I almost said it wrong, but I got it right, because who's not seeking that? Because the Horgon that originally appeared on TNG is coming. Oh man, just let people know what you're looking for by wearing that Horgon on your lapel, or just on a mask, which they also have, anything else. But anyway, head over to fansets.com right now, put any of those pins in your cart. Upon checkout, use the discount code 5YEARMISSION, that is the number 5, and then all caps Year Mission, 5 Year Mission. You can get 10% off of your entire order over at fansets.com. Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank Fansets for sponsoring each and every single episode that appears on the Trek Geeks network of podcasts.
I think that does it for another edition of What Are the Little Songs Made Of on the 5-year mission, the podcast, on 5-year mission, the podcast. I'm joined by Noah and Mike, and Patrick and Andy couldn't make it to this one, but I think we held up okay. Right, guys?
This is the best podcast we've done.
I think you're right.
What is it, 20 plus episodes? This is the best one.
Yeah, those guys aren't invited anymore. It's just us, the trio of greatness. I don't know.
And we all assume Mike's going to edit this out, but he's not going to edit it.
Yeah, it's the red hour. What do you want?
We'll see.
We'll see.
For the festival today, are you of the body? 'Cause you know the body is one. Blessed be the body, it is the will of Landrew done. Sometimes I wonder now, we came before, but I forget somehow. Strangely, and you know that's not our way. Joy be with you, stranger, and tranquility today. Well, it's almost 6 now, and the red hour is near. Have you got a place to sleep it off? It is the will of Landrew here. Strength.
think the fact that like Mike doesn't hit the stop record button like when we're actually done.
That's because he's got to get all these juicy nuggets.
Makes it all that more awkward to like actually end it. Like if I saw the recording light go off, it would just be like normalcy.
So unnatural.
Yeah, but the fact that it's still going just feels like we're still trying to close it out, but we can't quite close it out.
We should just ramble on for a long time.
Like we can't quite finish.
The end of the episode is like just a ramble from like ramble beginning to ramble. Does rambling even end? I don't think it does. So it would just be ramble. And I guess rambling ends at some point, but it's like, you the ramble kind of I don't know, it doesn't.
You're rambling, Chris.
Oh.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast. If any of you are interested in listening to more of our music, you can check us out on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or pretty much anywhere that you can listen to music. Just search for 5 Year Mission and we should be the first thing that comes up. If you would like to contact us in regards to the podcast or anything else that you want to talk to us about, you can email us at 5yearmissionband@gmail.com.
And for more information about the band, you can go to 5yearmission.net and also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
5 Year Mission, the podcast is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.